Good morning, Jenna. It is February 13th, 2013, and today I'm going to give you my book review on John Green's The Fault in Our Stars. Okay, let me first preface this that if anybody else is watching this, this has spoilers in it. The book's been out for a year, so I'm pretty sure that it's okay to talk about the book in its entirety now. So if you haven't read it or listened to it, go away right now. This book it's wonderful and awful, all wrapped up into a tiny little ball. Anybody who's read it understands what that means. It is a fabulous book, but it deals with cancer and, disease, death, life, kind of coming to terms with, the reality of your situation. And all of those things are not easy things to deal with. And so the book made me cry like I was a snot factory at full force. We have two main characters, Hazel Grace Lancaster and Augustus Waters. And at the very beginning of the book, you're fully aware that Hazel has, terminal cancer, and it's only a matter of time. She goes to a support group where through a friend, she meets Augustus and they fall in love. They take a trip to Amsterdam so that Hazel can meet this author that she idolizes who wrote a book about disease and death and cancer that she really, it really resonates with her. They come home and Hazel discovers that Augustus, who was in remission, is no longer in remission, and the end of the book follows Hazel and Augustus through Augustus's inevitable death. And it's awful. Oh, it's awful. I don't mean that to sound like I didn't really love the book, but for me, this is a one-time read, and I won't ever pick the book up again because it's just such a difficult book. If it doesn't have a happy ever after story, for the most part, I don't read it and that is very shallow of me. But I just feel so ragged at the end of stories that don't end the way you want them to. And I just think really, really good stories should do that to you, even if I read them very, very infrequently. So, love it or hate it, a little bit of both. I would probably give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I'm interested to see what you take away from it because you tend to pick up on, a lot more detail oriented and will hone in on different situations that for me, I walk away with this like overall feeling at the end of the book. I could start crying just thinking about it. Ugh. Awful. It's awful. You get to do the big reveal on our next book club book. And I'll see you on Saturday. Oh, just one more thing. I listened to it on audiobook. I think I said that before. Anyway, I really loved how the actress would say Augustus's lines like Hazel Grace. It was really endearing. I loved how Hazel would always introduce herself as, I'm Hazel. And then Augustus would refer to her as Hazel Grace, or he would introduce her as Hazel Grace. And she would go, it's just Hazel. And I love how by the end, she doesn't fight it anymore. She's Hazel Grace. And I just think that's really sweet.